Hi everyone, I'm Geneviève Gresset. I'm obviously the host of this wonderful podcast, Fizz Tell. I think it's wonderful and I'm getting wonderful feedback. So thank you everyone. Your feedback really does keep us going. And today I'm joined by Helen Rimmer. Now, Helen, I met at a ladies networking group recently, and it was one of those sort of instant, oh, here's someone who's on my wavelength. And she's a fellow coach but a kindness coach. And
Mm.
I think with everything that's going on in the world right now, the one thing that is missing hugely is kindness. And I think we're all really guilty of forgetting about being kind and being mindful about being kind in such busy, stressful lives. So, Helen, welcome to Fizz and Tell.
Oh, thank you so much, Genevieve. That's a lovely little introduction. Thank you.
So, Helen, tell me, how did you get into this type of coaching?
Yeah. Well, the sort of official story is I did a PG cert in the psychology of kindness and wellbeing at work. But really, going right back, I had been experiencing kindness and understood the value of it all along. It had been very much part of my leadership journey, my working journey. Things like I had a manager who, back in the very early 2000s, was committed to flexible working and really
Wow.
encouraged us to do
Mm.
all the things we now talk about like, actually, if you're not feeling it, go home, you know, on the days when you're,
Wow.
I
Wow.
know,
Some of my jobs I'd have been at home permanently.
equally on the days you are feeling it, turn up, give it your best, and very much
I love
sort of
that.
made me realize that that was me, that was also what I wanted to do. So as I then moved into managerial roles, I it was inhabiting that well-being first, people first, kindness very much at the center, but I probably didn't quite realize it. I wouldn't have articulated it like that
We
so much.
often don't, do we? When we're in our journey, it's only that period of reflection when we've got to a certain point that we think, okay, now the bits of the puzzle are in place. I understand why I'm here.
Yeah, that is it. That is it completely. So I was going through my working career, doing all this, getting frustrated when kindness maybe wasn't in place, but not necessarily realizing that wasn't it. Um, and very much, yeah, having this thing and just knowing this was the right way for me to lead, to manage, to be. Um, and then COVID happened. Obviously, that really starts to make you think. I had a baby during COVID, so lockdown baby gives you an added layer of ah. Um, and that showed me both a lot of kindness, a lot of what was going on in the world, well-being being very centered, but also a realization that actually sometimes there was a disjointedness between what people were saying they wanted and what was actually happening on the ground. And that was across not, that was across workplaces. That was talking to friends and family and things. And
Mm.
then the University of Sussex in, I want to say 21, launched a PG cert in the psychology of kindness and wellbeing at work. And one of my friends and colleagues sent me the link and went, "This is for you. You
Yes.
absolutely need to do this." And I
Mm.
was like, "Oh, it looks really good." I said to my manager, "I'd quite like to do this. I think it would be good for us as I worked at university to do it." "Oh yeah, you'll do it, we'll pay." So I was like, brilliant.
It was meant to happen, wasn't
It
it?
would have meant,
Sometimes when things just fall in your lap, you can't
yeah,
ignore them.
yeah. And I had that buzz, that excitement. It was like, oh, and I
Oh,
love studying. It's one of, personal development. I think a lot of coaches, personal development is quite a key, like, strength.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The studying's good, but the having to write out things and the thesis and
yeah,
everything else, that's the bit that
yeah, yeah. And I'd done a master's in film studies, so I'd done a master's in something I loved. Anyway, so I'm there and I'm start on this course, and I'm like, I have found my people. This is me. And it just landed. And it made me, I went through quite a journey. It was almost like, wow, this is what I've been doing. Oh, there's science behind what I've been doing. Oh, there's evidence for it. Oh, there's other people who want to do it. And then at the same time, realizing that actually you sometimes can't put the fire out inside the building.
Yeah.
And that all the things I wanted to do to sort of help people become kinder, help the world be kinder, improve people's well-being through kindness, but lots of other ways, I couldn't do it in my role. That was not anything against the university. It was just, you need to be outside buildings to actually make those changes sometimes. You can help other people make the changes inside the building.
Yeah.
You need to be outside.
Yeah.
And so I then decided I'd do a coaching qualification. I did a systemic coaching certificate. I did Strength Scope Master, became an ICF accredited coach. And that was both as I finished and once I actually set up on my own. And I love it. So I coach individuals, I go into teams and work with them, with kindness always at the heart of what I do.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not a case of I'm going to throw a magic wand and you're all going to be kind and
Yeah.
any of that, because that's not how it
That's
works.
not how coaching works.
No.
Do you know
Uh,
what? Sometimes I wish it was that easy, Helen, because
yeah,
our lives would be so much easier if it was.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And I have to say, though, once I started talking about kindness, I have never had more anger directed at me. I know, isn't it bizarre?
But why? Give me an example.
So, for one thing, I wrote an article for a higher education newsletter about care washing. So, that's where organisations say they're going to do things for well-being, but actually they're not really doing it. They're maybe doing something tokenistic. They do a well-being survey, but they don't act on it and things like that. And in it, I then talked about how if we had more kindness in our training, if we put people at the start of things like managerial, at the centre of managerial courses and things like that, kindness would come. And someone actually tweeted it and said, "What hellscape is this?" And it was like, pardon? And I also had I also have been told, accused of weaponizing it.
How can you weaponize kindness? I don't quite understand that. That doesn't,
Yeah,
that's almost a contradiction in itself, isn't
yeah.
it?
It
Yeah.
was it was
Yeah.
in my previous workplace. It was someone who just didn't
That's
want
why
any
you're not
attention.
there anymore,
Yeah,
Helen.
that's why I'm not there.
Funny that.
Yeah. He was a very angry man, and basically, yeah, weaponizing. Um, everything was being weaponized. But
Well,
yeah,
I have that with date coaching as well. And
yeah,
it's funny when you start speaking your truth,
yeah,
you realize there is always going to be people that want to shut you down because it's not their value system, it's not their belief system. And one of the things, I mean, I've done constant improvement, and every year I do these courses with Dr. Terry Orbuck,
mm,
and some of the stuff I love about her is it's all value based. And
yes,
one of the things I've realized in my working life, I'm a granny now, I'm in my mid
mm,
50s. One of the things that I've realized is for me, I have to surround myself with people that mirror my values, or at
yeah,
least respect them and understand them. Because I think sometimes when we're around people that don't get us and don't have our best interests at heart, it's very
mm,
damaging. And it does the opposite of kindness,
yeah,
actually. It creates this toxicity, which is really unhealthy. So
yeah,
I totally get it. And it is all about finding your tribe, which is
yeah,
why I love our get-togethers,
yeah. They are
because
brilliant.
it's very much when you find your tribe and you're in sync,
Mm,
wonderful things happen. You've got this kindness seminar next week, haven't you?
yes,
I'm so honoured that I've been asked to be
yeah.
one of the
I'm
speakers.
so honoured you're doing it.
It's really exciting. So
Yeah.
what made you do that? Because that's no easy feat, Helen. I mean, talk
Well,
about being in Wonder Woman mode. I hope your cape and your big Wonder Woman knickers, I'm always saying I have to get my big Wonder Woman knickers out some days. The ones that go up to here.
I'm a bit in that mode. So it's World Kindness Day on the 13th of November, which is a wonderful day to focus on kindness and hopefully then
Highlight
ripple
it to
out.
those that don't believe in it.
Yes, I'll send it to the hellscape man. Um,
Yeah.
and I thought I need to do something for World Kindness Day. I know what, I'll see if anyone wants to join me in a little conference that's turned into 28 speakers, which is brilliant. People like you, Graham Alcott with his book Kind is talking. I'm talking. Jay Morris, who's one of the nation's best burnout coaches is doing something. So a real range of people, plus people who are starting out in their careers and have there's so much knowledge, but it's a real chance for them to get like on a
Yeah.
panel and actually
Yeah.
out there. And the idea is it covers all aspects of kindness. So there's self-kindness, kindness at work, kindness just in general, like kindness to others. Quite a couple of people doing mindfulness, a couple of people are talking about nutrition and yeah, a whole range of different speakers. Some people who studied with me on my PG cert, so they're taking the opportunity to actually deliver some of the stuff they've researched. And our opening keynote is Rona Hart, Dr. Rona Hart, who is like one of the best voices in positive psychology in the world. So it's bringing together all these sort of voices from all
What a
different.
lineup.
Yes, and it's
I mean,
going to
Helen, how did you pull this together in such a short space of time? Because we only spoke about this, I think it was a few weeks ago, and then all of a
be.
sudden you've done it.
I know, because I wanted to. I think that's often the case, isn't it? When you're, and particularly once you're in your 40s, you don't care, like
You
I,
care even less when you're in your 50s, so it was
yeah,
looking forward.
I just thought I'm going to throw it out there. Worst case scenario, it's me and Genevieve, you know, and a couple of our friends come along and they watch a quick 20 minutes. But what really matters to me is getting that message of kindness out there and
Mm.
getting the opportunity to really amplify it and really show the world, because we've got people attending from all over the world. We've got a speaker from Australia, we've got speakers from America, it's a real international thing.
But it's
Show
global, it's gone global. You've
it
gone
has
viral,
gone
Helen.
global. I know, get your tickets. It is very much about bringing people together, and also because in the science of kindness, if you experience kindness, you're more likely to go out and perform kindness. And also, if you witness kindness, you're more likely to go out and perform kindness.
There's that
So,
ripple effect, isn't it?
yeah,
I always say to people, especially when when they're single and they're on the dating scene, it's the most unkind place. It's the most
really,
critical place that you could ever put
yes,
yourself in, and it's the most vulnerable place,
yeah,
especially if you're a woman or a man, and
mm,
it's your second or third time round, and you've got trauma, you've got baggage, you've got patterns
mm,
that need healing, and it's you witness so much unkindness in when you're in that space.
mm,
And I always say to people, go in and smile. And if
yeah,
someone smiles with you, great.
yeah,
Don't go in with a whole checklist. Don't go in with anything else. Just it's that emotional intelligence, that emotional connectivity. That's far more important
yeah,
than anything else. And it has this ripple effect. I know if I go into a shop and I see someone perhaps having a bad day, being stressed, being anxious, I'll
mm,
say, I'll smile at them and I'll
mm,
say, oh, I know that feeling all too well. Just empathizing. Then all of a sudden, everything changes. They feel that someone's hearing them and seeing them and not demonizing them. Rather, especially if you see mothers in shops. I've been that mother where your kid's sitting in the
oh,
in the in
yeah,
the trolley. I can't even say the word.
yes,
So traumatized from it.
traumatized.
Sitting in the trolley and screaming because they can't get what they want, or they want to get out. And my son always wanted to get out and run around. He did not want to be stuck in a trolley. That was the last thing he wanted to be. But every time I did that, shopping didn't get done, and I'd spend an hour running around a supermarket trying to grab him.
Yeah, yeah, been
So,
there.
and parents look at you and sort of go, can't control her children. And
Yeah,
it's one of those things I remember distinctly my son was a baby and quite young. And I was holding him and he was hungry and he was pulling at my top, as babies do when they're being breastfed. And the next thing, my whole boob was exposed in the middle of the frozen food aisle. I'll never forget it. I'm still
oh my
traumatized
god, that's
by
a
it.
brilliant story.
And this woman came up to me and she said, I don't know. I said, oh, I know, I can feel it. It's really cold. I was trying to tug at this, trying to stop him from trying to latch on. And this woman
Oh,
just literally stood in front of me and said, don't worry, I'll just, I'll
Yeah.
just sort of hide your dignity while you sort the situation out. And I said to her, thank you. I wanted to hug her. I was in tears. You can imagine I was
Yeah.
absolutely mortified, standing in the middle of the frozen
Oh,
food aisle with most of my nipples on show. It was like, oh my God, just kill me now. And 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 I think it's when you've got people that are kind to you,
yes.
it allows you to go
Mm.
and breathe and just, I can't believe I've actually just said this story live.
How amazing that you remember it all this time
Oh, I
later.
do. It was one of the most traumatic experiences,
Yeah.
which is why after that he was in the trolley.
Yeah.
I'm never playing this to him. He'll be mortified.
Yeah.
He's 21 now. He'll be like, "Oh, Mum, why on earth did you have to repeat that?" But it's true. I mean, when you have children or when you're around children, we were
Yeah.
talking about this earlier,
Mm.
they are your biggest mirrors,
Oh,
aren't they?
absolutely.
They are your biggest mirrors, and they can teach you kindness and they can teach you a lot of other emotions that you didn't think you ever would witness or feel.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things that you have to start kindness with you.
Yes. Yeah.
This is the biggest problem is we can be kind to others. But I think
Yeah.
when we're mums, when we're working mums, when we're also, I'm in that sandwich generation
Mm.
where I've got parents that need me in different ways, sadly,
Yeah.
and my mother now, and children that don't need me as much, but
Yeah.
when they do, they do.
They really do.
And then
Yeah.
grandchildren on top of that. So it is that sandwich bit that and
Yeah.
menopause and everything else that puts a whole different pressure that you're torn. There's this tug of
Mm.
war that you're torn in a million different directions.
Mm.
And sometimes I forget to be kind to myself and
Yeah.
look after me. And
Yeah.
you resonated something very important when you said about kindness at our ladies get together,
Yeah.
about how kindness, what are you doing about being kind to yourself? I'm thinking, sod all at the moment,
Yeah.
apart from having a cup of tea and sitting down
Yeah.
to you.
But it's really hard sometimes. I mean, obviously, I've been very intense because I wasn't, planning this to be quite what it became.
A
And
global adventure.
yeah, so I've been like, what can I do to make sure I go for a walk each day? But equally being kind to myself and going, actually, an actual workout is probably too much.
Yeah.
That's sometimes the kindest thing
Yeah.
is to give yourself a break, especially if you've got a deadline and you know it's going to change. But it's so easy to put yourself last when you're a parent, and like you, I've got older parents as well, and you get caught up in everybody else, but you can't give from an empty cup, and
No,
so
no, you
it's
can't.
absolutely got to. And I always say to people when they're talking about like kindness in the workplace, is actually you have to demonstrate you're looking after yourself. So leaving on time, not sending emails in the evening, all of this is kind to you as well as modeling that good behavior for your team. So it
Yeah.
can go both ways. It's like actually one of the most powerful examples I've got of that was when I a previous place I worked. It was actually it was a really good place for that type of thing. I resonated values wise there very much. And we introduced that you could leave from 4 basically. And one of the most powerful things was the director did, and of the library left at 4. Some days, not all every day, sometimes he had meetings, but if he could, and he'd go, I'm off to play cricket. And
Yeah.
then the associate director, he'd leave because he had to pick his kids up.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm off to pick up my kids. And then everyone was like, oh, so that's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And
We're
they were
stuck in
being
that
kind.
90s bit, aren't we? Of that
Yeah,
90s working woman where you feel you have to still prove that
mm,
you're capable.
yeah,
It becomes competitive in
yes,
some of these workplaces.
yeah,
If you're seen to be leaving early, if you're seen to have a life outside of work,
yeah,
heaven forbid you should vocalize your life outside of work in some
yeah,
of the places.
yeah.
And so I totally get that. When I worked in recruitment, and I was running my supper clubs as well, I'd have
Mm,
to leave because
mm,
I was headhunting in London and I was running my secret supper clubs. So there were nights I knew I had to leave on time because I had another my
Yeah.
passion to go to and
Yeah.
with. And I remember working one place where if you left before 7,
Mm.
you weren't considered to be dedicated, committed, professional enough. And I thought, my God, the hours that I do, and I'll never forget when I had my first child, I wanted to go back, but only 3 or 4 days a week, so it fitted in with childcare. And she said, okay, let's see how it goes. I tripled what I did because I made
I bet
sure
you did.
I worked damn harder to prove I could do it.
Yeah.
And recruitment is a sales job in
Mm.
some instances. And I was earning more than I'd ever done 3 days a week. No, got greedy. Well, if you're doing this 3 days a week, I can get a lot more out of you 5 days a week. And that was the conversation. I said, the reason I'm doing it is because I value the fact that you're giving this to me 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
wanting to, I'm putting all my energy into those 3 days,
Yeah.
and I'm enjoying being a mum as well.
There
So I'm
is.
getting
Yeah.
the best of both worlds. But people are very
Yeah.
narrow-minded. I left and found a job locally
Not surprised.
who did appreciate it. And
Yeah.
every day I could get home, I could walk to work, and I could
Yeah.
run the supper clubs every week. It wasn't a problem. And they knew what else I was doing, and they completely endorsed it and supported it. So it just shows you that
Mm.
that whole power of listening to what someone can do and what they're
Yes.
capable of, and
Yeah.
taking that and
Yeah.
being flexible to work with it changes everything.
And
Changes
actually,
everything.
you said something really important there, the listening to what suits someone else as well, because so often you hear people say, well, I'm being, this is what works for me. But what if that isn't what works for someone else? How do you facilitate that gap? And how do you have those open conversations? And once you start having them, your team connection will be better
Totally.
because you're being kinder. Because listening is definitely the key to it all, isn't it? That actual,
It's
as
listening and
coaches,
hearing. It's hearing it. It's not just listening, it's hearing
yeah,
it, taking action on it.
yeah,
And it's that active listening. And it's
yes,
something I teach with all the people I work with.
mm,
It's not just okay to listen. It's what does active listening look like so someone feels heard and valued. It's
yes,
taking it to that next
yeah,
level. And I think
absolutely,
that's the society that we're in now, where
yeah,
that's the bit. It's not enough to
no,
just be listened to.
no, no. It's absolutely about active listening. And that's something I, again, just like you, talk about training. Really, it's one of those fundamental pieces for anybody to be kinder is practice that, and you'll be a long way along the lines. And you can practice it. I practice it with my 10-year-old.
Come
Well,
on.
yeah.
Give us
So
a bit, Ellen. I'm
if you know 10-year-olds, they can get quite passionate about things that are quite boring to you.
boring in your world, Helen,
In my world,
but
but
in
not in
their
his
world,
world.
it's the most important thing.
But that is so important for practicing your listening, because actually, you sit there and I listen to him talk about Pokemon till the cows come home. What's really key about it is then, as he's got all the Pokemon drama and all the Pokemon interest off, is suddenly he'll go, oh, and this happened at school today. And it's suddenly you get to the crux of what actually is going on, because you've listened and you've practiced listening to, and he, is held in that space. And you are interested in the moment. I can never remember the names of any of them. I've got a complete mental block against the names of Pokemon, but he knows that.
Isn't there Pikachu?
There is Pikachu. I know Pikachu and Bulbasaur.
Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, no, we went through a Pokemon phase in this house.
Yeah, I bet. I think everyone does. So yeah, and it's about listening, because actually, and if you're a manager, if you sit in a one-to-one and you listen to people and you properly hear what they're saying and you allow yourself time. So in coaching, we do a lot of pausing, don't we? We listen
Oh,
and
yes.
pause. If you allow yourself time to process it, that's really powerful as well, because
Mhm.
you are able to sit there and repeat back what's happened, or retain it, or actually demonstrate your listening. And then you might well get, after that pause, the real thing that's happened. And that might be a real success, or it might be something that you really needed to know.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting when I facilitated sort of coaching with groups and with teams where there've been problems. They sort of send in super nanny and I go in.
Yeah.
I always say I'm a bit like Nanny McPhee. You really don't want me sitting there, but you'll be grateful when you'll be grateful when I've left, but for
Yeah.
various reasons. And the times I've sat in corporate
Mm.
boardrooms with conflicts,
Yeah.
and once you give people the space to be heard and you're showing the other people how to listen and asking them to feedback what they've heard and what they've understood and what can be done about it. Sometimes it's not even anything needs to be done. It
Mm.
just is somebody wants to be heard.
Mm.
And I think that's so, so, so powerful in any type of relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, friendships, business relationships, that being heard and giving someone that space to be heard is the
Yeah.
most powerful thing you
Mm.
can do.
Yeah.
And you don't have to fix it. It's not about fixing or finding a solution to the problem. It's just about giving that space to be heard. And I
Absolutely.
think that's part of the essence of kindness.
It absolutely is. Yeah, it's one of the kindest things you can do
Yeah,
is, yeah, give people space to be heard. And it's such a simple thing. And I think that's really key in kindness. The small things are often the big things.
totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
We did a party at the Pamper Lounge,
Mm.
and it was an emotional party for lots of different reasons. I obviously won't share anything. And it was at the end of it, all the messages I got back and the lovely letters of praises. I can't thank you and the team enough for being so kind.
Oh,
And
lovely.
that means more to me than it was organized, it was structured,
Yeah.
it was fun, but
Yeah.
being kind. And I always, with all the team, we have a team talk before
Mm.
any part. We've got this, we can do this, it's going to be a busy day, but we've got this. But remember to be kind to yourself, take a
Yes.
break if you need to, give us a nod, but also be kind to everyone. And everyone in
Mm.
my team's got so much empathy and kindness and
Mm.
love and for what they do
Mm.
that it just oozes out. And I think that again, when you're employing staff, having staff that mirror your values and mirror that whole kindness
Yeah.
thing, and that you've got time for each other, is
Yeah.
it spills out so that everyone actually recognizes it's a really kind place. It's
Yeah.
lovely, it's vibrant, it's fun, it's everything else, but they're really kind there. And I
Yeah.
and I think that is such an important message.
Mm.
And I love hearing that more than anything else, to be honest, when I get
Same
feedback.
here. Yeah,
It means
definitely.
more, doesn't it? It means so
Yeah.
much more.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I don't know about you, but sometimes you hear feedback for teams you've worked with has started coming in that they've been kind or people have
Yes.
noticed it. And that is also really powerful because it shows that it's
Oh,
rippling.
I know it does. I mean, I worked in the States for a few years, and the owner of the company on the contract I had was to put processes and
Mm.
sort of put some stability, merging 35 businesses under one roof, which is a
Yeah.
huge feat. And I went and met everyone. And one of the things is in America, people can be quite competitive.
Mm.
And I taught them the power of kindness and the
Mm.
power of listening and understanding and leading by example.
Mm.
And at the end of my contract, I got some lovely feedback saying, we cannot believe what leaders you've turned the leadership team into. They're
Oh,
totally different on a different scale that we never
yeah.
we never imagined. And I led by example. If you're
Mm.
kind to people, people are kind back to
Um,
you, and then that ripples out.
yeah,
It totally ripples
definitely.
out.
Yeah.
And I think kindness has this huge ripple effect.
Yeah,
You
totally.
start the day off badly, don't go out. Do not look
Yes.
at anyone. Do not speak to anyone till I used to say this to my kids when they were in teenage mode. Until you've got your shit together, don't even speak to me. Because you'll put me in a bad mood. Wait, you've got the teenage years to come, Helen. We'll have that
Yeah,
conversation
but
in a
I
few
know this
years.
will happen. Yeah, and that's why hopefully people attending, well, no, it's not even hopefully, people attending Kindness Unites, a day where they're immersed in kindness, or even if they just attend one or two talks, they're going to come away feeling better and
Yeah.
they will go off and do kinder things. and that will
Absolutely.
ripple out. So that's the power of the day, I think.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited. And we're going to share a link in this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a replay for people that can't? If they sign up, will they get replays? I know that's something that's always asked of these sorts of events.
So there is, you have to buy an access all areas pass, but then you
And
can
how
get
much is
replays
that,
for the end of
Helen?
£27.
That's nothing,
Yeah.
is it
And you
really?
get some freebies with it as well.
Oh,
And
oh,
there's some other levels. So if like a whole organisation is interested, there's a higher level where they could buy it for their organisation and
that's
everything. So
brilliant.
yeah, want to get
Wow.
it out there and
It's
ripple it out.
such an incredible concept and thrown together so
I
impressively
know.
quickly.
But hopefully the inaugural, well, no, it will be the inaugural one, and we'll be back here next year doing it again.
I can't wait. I
Yeah.
can't wait to watch this grow because I think this is one of the most incredible initiatives
Oh,
and I'm so proud to be part of it as
oh,
well. So I think it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
Jenna.
Helen, where has the time gone?
I know. We can talk about this all day, which we will do next Wednesday.
Which we will do next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is our Let's Talk About Kindness all day. And my dog's walked in. He has this thing. He's my timer.
Yeah, he knows when it's
Can't
the
be
end.
away from me more than 30 minutes. So
Brilliant.
he's brilliant. He's a brilliant little alarm clock.
Oh,
So
yeah,
thank you. And I will put the links up and obviously
brilliant.
share this and we'll see people next Wednesday for
Can't
Kindness Day.
wait to see
Can't
everybody.
wait. Can't wait.
Yeah.
It's very, very exciting. Helen, I know we will talk again and I know I'm going to
Yes.
see you again anyway, but I know
I will see you soon.
we will
Yeah.
we will hopefully do this again and
Yeah, definitely.
debrief as to how it went and what
Oh, that'd
came
be
out
brilliant.
of it, which
Yeah.
would be wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much for being my guest today. Thank you, Helen. Bye bye.
Thank you.